Welcome, everybody. So we have 45 minutes, which is a bit unusual. So, and our topic today is exiting a business, why and when. So what I'm going to talk about today probably doesn't simply relate to exiting a business. It could be exiting almost any relationship, quite possibly. So a little bit about my journey. Last year I sold my business after 35 years and 8 months. And I got into that business because of my grandmother. My grandmother had sore feet. So I became a podiatrist because I wanted to help people. And I was really, really good at it. And of course I got better and I changed and innovated my business over that 35 years and changed the way that we could actually treat feet. And how it came about, I'm a young country kid. I'm suddenly in Melbourne. I finished my course, 3 years at uni, and I'm looking for work. I'm looking for a job. And the family friend I was staying with said, why don't you go and ask Jackie, the local chiropodist, if she wants someone to work for her? So I'm like, okay. So I rock up, and there's an Australian with a very American accent standing here. She seemed like this big, because I'm this young, brand new on the block podiatrist. Long red nails that were a bit scary, and I'm like, you hold someone's feet with that? How does that work? I said, hey, I hear you want to, maybe you want to play more golf, and maybe you'd like someone to work for you? And she's like, do you want to buy the business? Yeah? That's my story of how I got into business. I had no business plan, I had no business model, I don't come from an entrepreneurial family. I knew nothing about business. I knew about people. So I rocked up to the first bank manager, hey, I'd like a loan of $3,000. What's your business model look like? Don't have one. It's like, cool, I'll lend you $3,000, which was like $300,000. If you sign up your parents' house. I was like, I ain't doing that. That for me wasn't an option. So I went to another bank manager. I think I had a plan. I'm going to have business. It was probably on a napkin. And I met this guy and I said, hey, I want $3,000. And in my enthusiastic, positive self, I really needed the money. What are you going to spend it on? A brand new chair, some paint, some lino, some new instruments. And he said, are you going to make this work? Absolutely. So 35 years and 8 months, I made that work. There were lots of failures along the way, lots of success. And it was one of the highlights of my existence. It's something I was passionate about. But things went dreadfully wrong in many ways. They went really wrong. I gave away my power. Other people took responsibility that wasn't their responsibility, and I didn't take responsibility for what was mine to take. So 3 years ago, I felt I had no voice. I'd been bullied for 20 years. I was 4 months in a psych ward. They kicked me out of the psych ward because they said, you're institutionalized. We can't help you. And so I left to think, I don't know what is going to happen in my life, where I am in my life, what I can do. And then became this real struggle of, I'm passionate about clients I've looked after for 35 years and 8 months. I've watched some of my clients go from 4 to 30, from 70 to 100. My youngest one's 6 weeks old, my eldest 105. I'm like, I love it. It's not your future. I love it. It's not your future. I love it. And I had this absolute battle about how to move forward without my business. So many of you, hands up who got the business here. Sweet. Hands up who want to have a business that don't have a business. Oh, nice. Good on you. Oh. So we're all explorers, trailblazers if we've got our own business. So after I had my business for 30 years and I spoke to this coach. He's sitting there, this man. My eyes are streaming. I can hardly talk to this man. And he's like, business is not emotional. I was like, what? What? What do you mean business is not emotional? Of course it's emotional. It's like, no, business isn't emotional. And it was such a disruption to my thought process. And I was like, it's not emotional. The crying continued and the sobbing continued, but it's like not emotional. And that shift took it into transactional. So I get at levels, there's science to prove that we make decisions based on emotions and then we bring the logic in. In the business, it is transactional, where you're paying someone. Are you getting for what you pay for, whether it's your team members, are your clients? And that's very black and white. That's not emotional. So here I am running a successful business for 30 odd years, totally based on, what does my heart feel? What feels really good? I didn't understand how to run a business. So I probably got to 32 years of running a business, then I really started to understand how to run a business. And to all the things that I'd done intuitively, then be able to make sense of. And so a lot of people go out of business because they don't take that first team member on. The stats in Australia about women in business, but startups failing in the first 1 year and 5 years is just extraordinary. And one of the big things is we try to do it alone. And we're quite isolated. And getting that first team member on, will they do it as good as I? Can I trust them? I don't know how to tell them what to do. How am I going to make that happen? So there's evidence and research to say one of the biggest reasons we go out of business, the why, is because we don't have a team. Has anyone seen the video, The Lone Dancer?
Yeah.
Yes? No one?
Yes.
Yes? All right. Please make a note, write it down or memorise it. There's a lone dancer at a festival, and he's a lone dancer. Most people think he looks like a bit of a nutcase. There's this festival, he's on the side of the hill, and he just starts like doing his thing, and you can see people sort of looking at him. And then comes the first follower. And that first follower is really important. And then that second one comes, then it's the third person. The third person, and suddenly there are hundreds of people who take off with this. So as a leader, it's really interesting to look at how do we gain momentum. So in business, a lot of the why we exit a business is because we don't have a team, because we feel really isolated. And then one of the next things is we get the team, but guess what? We bring our family in, and then we bring our friends in, and sometimes that works fabulously, and sometimes it's an absolute disaster. I see the nodding heads being done. Yeah. So I brought a family member in, and it was fantastic in a way, because there's a lot of profiles that I look at. And if I look at one of the profiles called Wealth Dynamics, I was on this side and she was on this side. The problem is that we didn't know how to communicate. So if you don't know how to communicate, not good, is it? Generally you end up with conflict. So I had a lot of conflict there. So again, part of the why we get out of business, because we get that team member in and then we're like, I don't even know what to do with this team member, it's not working. You find all the evidence for why it's not working, and so you just quietly exit. I'm not good at exiting very often. So I stayed there, but what I didn't delegate well. And so this person took on responsibility more and more, and I'd say, I don't want you to. And they take it, and I'm like, okay, you're working too hard, I really don't want you, I'll get someone else. Oh, no, that's fine. So it became this absolute struggle. And I know many businesses have that. And then you have team members where, what if they leave? How am I going to manage if I leave? Because they've taken ownership of something. And not if you're a fully empowered business owner, but if you're not, then they take ownership, and then it's like, then it can be really fear-based. So rather than deal with the conflict again, a lot of people will just leave and go, okay, I can't do this anymore. So one of the biggest things is to stay in business. I mean, we're talking about why and when, but to stay in business is to really understand how to deal with a team. And one of the biggest things that people often hear in business is, oh, there was just another one of me. And clients will say, oh, there was just another one of you. Trust me, you don't want to do that. It's a disaster to be looking in the mirror all day. I got someone who was just like me, it drove me nuts. And then I understood how I drove everyone else nuts as well. I was like, oh. I'm like, seriously? Oh my God. And like, that was 33 years in business when I was like, so we don't want another one of me. You don't want another one of you. Because again, that just adds to the fuel of things not working. So one of the clients that I was working with, if I go back a step, when I sold my business, and I'll get to a little bit more of that, it really was a struggle. It was a massive struggle, and I didn't have somewhere and someone to talk to about it. So it was locked inside my head and locked inside my body. So it was really, really difficult for me, and I just got sicker and sicker and unweller and unweller. And I held space for other people, and there was someone else that I was mentoring, and she's got all these mentors helping her run her business and helping her take her business to the next level, and we're sitting there. And I was like, what's really going on? What's really going on? She was like, I can't do this another day. I can't do it another day, it's killing me. It's destroying my sex life. It's destroying my relationship. It's killing me. So one of the things with when and why is to be really honest. After she had that conversation, she went outside and spoke to her partner. She told all her mentors she wasn't doing this. Suddenly there were possibilities. They worked out how to sell this business. But she had all these mentors helping her stay in this business that was killing her, that she's no longer passionate about. Like me, it's not her future. So one of the biggest things, if you're exploring when and why, is to have someone who's not non-judgmental, doesn't have their own agenda of coaching, of pushing or forcing. So as you get to be really honest with yourself. So the message that I was given, the reason to leave my business, was Spruth, S-P-R-U-T-H, the art of speaking truth with love and compassion. And I can see when I did that in my business how it flourished. I can see when I led from not that place, it didn't flourish. And that not being honest to myself just was killing me. And often we hold on to a business because we think, you know, I've got to keep the roof over my head for the 4 generations that live with me. I've got to keep the business going for my team. I've got to keep the business going for these clients who passionately love me. They get the ripples of us not being in flow. They get the ripples of us not being really, really honest with ourselves as well. So the thing is, deciding when and where, you really have to be really honest. Really, really honest. It's like, I don't want to do this anymore. It's not my future. And when we take ownership, and when we take responsibility, and when we speak it, because Spruth is about speaking it, suddenly there are infinite opportunities that you've not even imagined yet. But when it's stuck inside, oh, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. And you might tell one person who's like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Heather, you're 59. You're 59, you've got a home. You've got a family to look after. You're really good at it. You're really, really good at it. You've got a leverage business. What are you doing? It's like, trusting myself. No, that's just stupid. Is it? Is it? And again, I'm a really disempowered woman, so it's like, so I kept hanging on and hanging on. And of course, we probably all know that if we're hanging on, there's no room to receive anything, is there? No, you know. So then I went on this journey. And what unknowingly I had done was set up the perfect exit strategy. I didn't know that though. And it was like, Jackie, do you think this woman, 6 years ago now, she didn't have an exit strategy? The chances of us selling an allied health practice when there is one person in it is very, very rare. But suddenly I was an exit strategy for her. And I had my exit strategy. I actually had a team member. And I mentored him on how to look someone in the eye, how to shake a hand, how to stand and be proud of who he was, how to run a business and how to have clinical skills. And we thought we were going to go into partnership. We were never going to go into partnership. But I didn't want to see that because I was still holding on. I was still holding on. How do I let go of this? Enjoy your day. Thanks for coming. So for me, it was such a leap of faith to step into the unknown and just trust that Mother Earth would be underneath my feet. And it has been. I looked after over 15,000 clients, so I got to listen to hundreds of thousands of stories of life generations, of stories through up to 4 generations in a family. And so I listened to that struggle that I had when I look back hundreds of times. People holding on. And the biggest thing is it's my identity. I'm known as Heather the podiatrist, Heather the businesswoman. What's my ego do when I don't have that anymore? Like, whoa, let's hold on some more. So when this gentleman who came in and said, hey, business is not emotional, right? He also said, what's your exit strategy? Because that's how you start a business. That might be how you start a business. I didn't start a business like that. So we can have a business for lifestyle, so it pays our bread and butter, or we can have a business for legacy, or we can have a business to sell. So for me, I'm one of the few of my era that got to sell her business. Most of my colleagues didn't because they stayed the lone practitioner because they weren't game to take that next person on. Because that next person was never going to be good enough. That next person wasn't going to look after the clients as well as I was. That next person was going to be... And I had all those doubts and things as well, and then it's like, cool, they're just going to do it different. They're never going to be me. And trying to make your team be you is just crazy things. So there are business models a lot of people have, oh, I'm doing this, and I want to do this. If that's not sucking the life out of you, then do them together. Build this one at the same time. Is my recommendation. If it's sucking the life out of you, stop! It's not worth it. So I was at another retreat where this woman, she's like, I'm doing this, and what I really want to do this. And I'm so excited about it, and I've got it all mapped out, and I've got the plan, and I've got this, and I've got this, and I'm like, fine. Get the domain now. Do you all have the domain of your own name? And if you haven't, go get it, because you're the most important real estate forever. So get your domain. So she's like, yeah, cool. And like, it was so energized, and then the next mentor came in and said, you know, you need to build that at the same time and you need to finish this. And she was like, yeah. And so she spent the next 4 or 5 days creating stuff for this business. She's already burned out. She's already over this. But hey, I'm going to burn out a little more. And a little more. and a little more, and try and build something here, and then try and manage this. And I said, you've already left the building, haven't you? You've already left. And when you've already left somewhere, it's really, really bloody difficult. You totally get it. It's really difficult when you've already left the building. And so on my journey of struggle of trying to create this, trying to figure this out, and trying to create this, my business that had gone like this started to go like this. Because my heart and soul wasn't there. And I was just getting emptier and emptier by the moment. I had literally 3/4 closed the door, but I was still hanging on because, like, what am I going to do? How am I going to earn a living? How am I going to pay my mortgage? The biggest thing for me, even when I sold my business, I was still holding on. I was like, God. People going, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, I don't know. And they're like, you've sold it, you've got the contract, you've got the deposit. I was like, I don't know. And then I was sitting there one day and I'm like, I had this massive download. I know why I can't sell my business. I haven't shared my gratitude. I haven't shared my gratitude enough. So I typed away, tears streaming. Hi, I'm sitting here, my eyes streaming with love and gratitude for the pain, for the pleasure, for the joy, for the wonder, for the opportunity I've had to look after over 15,000 people, over 35 years and 8 months, to employ dozens of new graduates, to give people new opportunities. And when I did that and sent that, and I asked the owner, I said, I need to write this, I would love you to share it, you don't have to. And when I did that, it was like, boom. The door was closed. That was miraculous for me, to just like the weight of 35 years was suddenly gone and being able to step into. And I was at a gig where I was up the back dancing, and I was up like I've been doing here, like just dancing up the back, bringing some energy. And at lunchtime, one of the girls said, hey, can you lead us in a dance for the afternoon? To some random person from up the back. I was like, yeah, I'd love to. And when I stepped up, it was great. She was like, this is Helen Bassett, and she's excited. And I was like, thank you. It's Heather Joy Bassett, because that's what I told her, and I'm excited and terrified. I wasn't just excited, and because everything is about being honest and truth and loving, then I'm excited and I was terrified. So I've yet to meet a business owner, and I've met hundreds and hundreds as clients, but then in the entrepreneurial world, that isn't it sometimes terrified? And you know what? It's normal. It's okay. It's okay to be scared. Scared is our intuition. Scared is what leads us. It's like, is this right? Is this wrong? So when I look at when, for me, my biggest one is if you're really strategic, that's a whole different thing. There's a thing called the Gallup Strength Profile. It lists 34 strengths. You know that one?
I'm a certified.
Ah, cool. She could tell you much better, but it's not her chance, so you'll have to speak later. Then, if I add some of mine up that are a bit strategic, but I'm not strategic. I'm connected, I'm positivity, I'm futuristic, I'm a learner, I'm an influencer. For me, strategically trying to manage two things is not an option. For my friend Claire, it's totally an option. For this friend, no, it wasn't an option. She was trying it and it was killing her. For this person, great. She's strategic. Her strengths allow her to work side by side without it killing her. It's like, cool, just logically do this and logically do this. of the things also is if we want to cut through anything, we need one arrow. This is Sam Cawthorn stuff from the Speakers Institute. When you've got a double arrow, it's much harder energetically to go, oh, I'm going to have this and have this. For me, but if you're a creator with a whole lot of other strengths, then you can juggle, the serial entrepreneurs can juggle this and this and this and this and this and this and this. So one of my friends is a creator in the Wealth Dynamics profile. So he has, if you haven't checked it out, check it out, it's a great profile. He's a creator, so he creates a million businesses. Well, that's not true. He creates a lot. And what he does is he gets to the point and he simply sells them. But never all of it. He always gets the trailer. Because that's how his mind works, and that's how his brain works, and that's what he's capable of. So the really crazy thing is, for me, is looking at why and when. If you've got someone telling you this is the way to do it, and they're not tapped into your strengths, they're not tapped into your values, they're not tapped into your big vision, what's happening in your heart, your soul, your body, then you just start crumpling inside because you're trying really hard to do it cookie cutter way. So the biggest thing for when and why is to be really honest with yourself. Have someone who's not going to judge you, who is going to keep bringing you back to what it is you desire, what it is you need. Now that responsibility, who was going to look after my team, wasn't actually my responsibility anymore. Who was going to look after my clients wasn't my responsibility. What I'm now learning as I sold my business is like looking after the 4 generations is not actually my responsibility anymore either. And that's been another earth-shattering thing to try and find my way through. So I would love someone to ask me a question about something, or half a dozen of them. And Spruth, I may be able to answer them, I may not. Who's got a question about when or why you're in business? Or anything else that's come up?
So you talked about it's not my business to look after, what's going to happen to your employees, your clients, and but if you've now put 35 years into something, it may not be your business in your head space, but your heart space is still, your heart space is still there. So kind of talk to us about the process that you use to disconnect your heart from, what the logical thing to do is, and what your heart really was pulling you to do, or wanted to do.
Cool. So, thank you. So one of the things, I talked about that my business went up, and then as I started to disengage, then it went down. And the more down it went, the more I held on, the more scared I was. But the beautiful thing in it going down was that it allowed my team member to buy the business. So he thought, so even though it's not my responsibility, I also co-created someone to step in and someone to take the business. And someone that I'd known for 2 years. Someone that was a friend of one of the people I'd employed years ago. So even though it wasn't my responsibility, I guess it's not my responsibility once it's gone, but I still felt responsible on the way. But how it's managed once someone else is there. So it's my responsibility to either hand it over or my responsibility to sell it. Now when I look at the perfection, and because positivity is my thing, by the business dropping down, if the business was up here, he would never had $1 million to buy a business. But as it went down, then it was perfect. He wanted to be able to manage a business time by the time he was 40. He owns a business at 30. So I see the perfection in that. And the thing that was my heart separation that allowed me to step forward was writing that letter of gratitude. That was the thing that shifted everything. No matter, I tried rituals, I burned the uniforms, I burned the old books, I'd thrown stuff out, I'd taken stuff out of the clinic, and then I went, oh, hang on, have it back. It's not mine. So there were so the processes of, the biggest thing was just simply being really honest with myself. It's not my future. And letting go of what was. It's like, okay, I don't know that. That this is not my future. And I would say this is not my future and then come up with a million beautiful stories. But it was just like, it's not my future, full stop.
A million beautiful stories of why it could be your future?
Yeah. Pardon?
What was the million beautiful stories of why it could be your future or why it was not your future?
The stories was I could go into partnership.
Oh, okay.
That I could go into partnership.
Okay, how to hold on to it.
Yeah. Yeah. How to hold on to it. But I could go into partnership. One of the coaches, because I didn't have a business coach for the first 33 years of business. I didn't have any competition because I didn't know such things existed. So I just did what I did from my heart. So nothing was that complicated until I got a team member in that I couldn't communicate with. But so I've lost where that train was going. Okay, cool. It may come back.
Mind if I ask you a question?
Yes, please.
What was it like to be in an institution being told you couldn't be helped because you were institutionalised?
Cool, that's bringing up some.
You don't have to go there. You don't.
No, that's cool. So 4 months was the longest time I was in hospital. So I was on $400 worth of meds a month, just trying to exist. And as I said, I'd been hospitalised over a 20-year period. And it was always, again, hospital. It's like, I'm not going to hospital, So I'd be just like hanging on. I'm not going to hospital. Hey, great to see you, everybody. It's great to let me fix your feet here. It's really great, team. Love you. Hey, Mum, Dad, it's great. Hey, daughter, it's great. So to admit and go, I can't do this anymore. Hey, Johnny, I need to go to hospital. It really was like my last resort. I didn't have any other options, I felt, other than to go there. So to be in there, and the nurses in psych wards are beautiful people, and that's really tough when you're in a psych ward, in that environment, working all the time. So I have much compassion for them. And she's, hey, you need to pack your bags, and you need to meet the doctor. So it's like, what? Yeah, you need to pack your bags and meet the doctor at 10 o'clock. So I go into this windowless room, a room where I've sat with many doctors over many years. It's like, my own doctor left a few months before. A psychiatrist of 15 years. He moved on. The psychiatrist who's been looking after me for only a short time is on leave. So I've got this random psychiatrist I don't even know. Just going, hey, just go home. Just go home. And if you need to, you can come back. Do you know what my first thought was? I'm not coming back. I'm just not coming back. I'm not coming back. And at the same time, I didn't know if I was going to stay on earth. In this body. In this lifetime. But I wasn't going back. I no longer have chronic forever, idiopathic and no rhyme or reason, depression. It was one of the biggest gifts that they've ever given me, that the universe they've given me. At the time, it was one of the most challenging moments of my existence.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking. The emotions flew through. Someone else had a question?
I have questions for you.
Nice, thank you. Thank you for engaging.
First of all, fantastic points. I could relate to every point that you talked about. Thank you so much for the sharing. The other thing that was going on in my mind was who were your biggest supporters during this process? As you went through this entire process, finding a new direction in your life,
Yeah.
who supported you in this process?
So my mum and dad, and I'm just mindful of respecting people's time, so we're cool. 5 years ago, my parents moved in with me. I moved. Everyone else that I know is downgrading, and I upgraded, and I moved into a big home with my partner, my 80-plus-year-old parents, and my daughter. So it was even extra challenging because it's like, great, I've got the biggest mortgage I've ever had in my life. My business is plummeting, and how do I manage that? How do I deal with that? And the biggest supporters were my mum and dad and my daughter. And then during that period, the beautiful partner I had, I'm like, he's not my future. So during this process, I also negotiated with love and compassion our divorce or our legal separation. And the only way that I could do all of this was like, how do I keep my heart open? How do I keep my heart open? How do I keep my heart open when there's negotiations for business, when stuff's going on with the team, when stuff's going on with my ex, when stuff's going on with my daughter? Like, how do I keep my heart open? Because as soon as I shut my heart, I'm the one that suffers. Everyone else gets the ripples as well. So my biggest supporters were literally mum and dad. They're now 86. And my daughter, 24.
The second question was that I also exited a business.
Yeah.
And I know that I had to start preparing for that exit.
Yes.
Even before I formally quit.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So when you exited your business,
Yes.
at what point of time did you really start preparing for what's going to happen after the exit?
So when did I start preparing? Like, I was preparing the whole way, but I'm not strategic, so there was no business model.
Yeah.
I was in Bali. I had my 60th birthday in Bali. I had Bali belly. I hadn't been able to eat for 4 days. I was sitting at a table with 14 people bringing their message to the world in a workshop, and I sat there and I was like, Bali belly, I've got to go to the bathroom. All right, I've got to have one scotch. I've had alcohol addictions, lots of addictions, rather than face the truth of what was going on in my life. And I was sitting there and I was like, wow, my gosh, I'm living my dream. I'm in a warm place, swimming in the pool with remarkable people, having amazing conversations. And I'm 60. I am living the title of my book, A Cosmically Juicy Life. It's like it's everything that I wanted in the last couple of years. And then I went, great. Great. Because my dream didn't have how I was going to earn money. Oops. Forgot that bit. Because I'm not strategic. Like, that's not how my brain works. So that was in October. And it's like, oh, cool. I need to create a new dream. Does that somewhat answer your question?
Yeah.
So one of the things that brought me back to, one of my coaches had this beautiful daughter, 2 beautiful children, 2 gorgeous grandchildren. And even that's a struggle because, like, whoa, I need to provide for them. I want to be around for them. I'm a global speaker. Oh, no, I'm a grandmother. Oh, I'm a global speaker. How does that work? So when I got the first business coaching, he's like, my daughter was 19 managing my clinic. It wasn't her responsibility. I'm in hospital, aren't I? The practice manager's gone overseas, so my daughter's managing my business. She's really good at it. It's not her responsibility. And one of my coaches was like, get Nat in, give her a slice of the pie. And my coach was, I'll also take a slice of the pie, so you can pay me to coach you, and I'll take a percentage of your business, and we'll get your daughter involved. I almost bought it for a minute. That would have been the biggest ball and chain around my daughter's neck ever. And again, I listen to so many people, they get their family in, and the amount of young women I see in a family business who don't want to be there, and like my daughter feel responsible, is horrendous. It's horrendous. So the Japanese business model, I'm told, thank you, is that you have family. So when my clients came in, they were family. When my team member came in, they were family. So the thing is, to maintain a business, yes, it's family, doesn't mean it's your blood relatives. That would have been a disaster for all of us. So if you've got any other questions, because I'm respectful of the time for the next person, if you have any other questions, if you want to explore through, I'm really open. So, namaste. And I'd love a photo of you all amazing trailblazer business women or about to be business women who know maybe when to exit and why to exit a business. About to be, cereals over here, about to be.